Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's a tough task to compete with the wonderful food that you are enjoying. So if you would bear with me, enjoy the food, but save the conversation for roughly about 10-15 minutes, if I may. I just was hoping that more of the elected candidates would have been here, but we will manage somehow. Let me begin by a reminder from the renowned General Charles de Gaulle, when he said, politics is too serious a matter. Politics is too serious a matter to be left to the politicians. And that's a reality. That's what brings us here today. Niyama, for some of you who may not know, if I may twist the word just a little bit, Niyama is a word in Arabic for blessing. This organization is a blessing for the community. And I do not mean the Muslim American community. I mean the community at large. The work that is being done by this organization, the work that is done by all of you, is quintessentially American in nature. It is quintessentially social in nature. It is quintessentially good in nature. And we need to understand and build upon that. Before I begin my remarks, I'm compelled to speak up on behalf of this young lady and her husband, Maria. And that young lady up there, if you could put up your hand. And the reason I do that is, Maria, if I may intrude personally into what you and your husband must have planned for the future, please do not do yourself a disservice by using the word lose. You ran, like that lady there and so many others, you ran a campaign from your heart. You ran a campaign based on morals. You ran a campaign based on integrity. You ran a campaign based on love for this country. And that alone is a victory. Do not let anybody tell you you lost, because you have won and you'll come back and win again and again. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a fantastic evening to gather today. Record-breaking midterm elections based on what happened on November 8th. Over 83 seats won by Muslim Americans across local, state, and federal elections. About 150 Muslim Americans ran this year for office, including 51 state legislative offices across 23 different states. Several Muslims became first-time representatives of their communities to enter state houses. Illinois, of course, had the first ever Muslim Americans elected to the General Assembly as our state reps. This wonderful young lady, we have seen her grow up. We're proud of you. Nabila Sayyid. We have Abdul Nasser Rashid. Texas, the legislature saw the election of Salman Bhojani, Suleiman Rolani. Minnesota saw the state senator Zainab Muhammad. Georgia saw Ruwa Rumman, the first Muslim American woman elected to the state house there, with 4 other Muslim Americans. That represents a super pipeline. And that will be one of the few times you will hear me speak about the Muslim American community in particular, because I want us to elevate ourselves. When we do good for the Muslim American community, we do good for society and the country and the world at large. That's what is at stake, folks. Today's state legislative representatives will be tomorrow's members of Congress. Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, they have shown the way for growth. State legislators have massive impact on local communities. Billions of dollars to be managed. issues to be addressed that are so near and dear to every one of us Americans. Healthcare, education, social justice for all, gun safety, mental health, not just foreign policy. These are American issues, and that's what we are talking about. And moving forward, I know we have a participation of American Muslims, so I do want to address that. There is work to be done, but there is work to be recognized too. The highest ever voter registration that took place in the past elections, it still needs to go up. We need to work on that. And there has to be more participation in local initiatives by all of us. But the country is concerned, and that is what I want us all to keep in mind. Most Americans, and this is documented by polls, recent polls, as recent as 3 months ago, most Americans seek a country where no one is targeted for religious identity. Most Americans believe that negative political rhetoric against Muslims or other minorities is harmful to the United States. Most Americans oppose the banning of building of houses of worship, including mosques. Most Americans believe that Muslims are committed to the well-being of America. When we keep all of that in mind, there is room to be extremely positive. Let's keep in mind quickly the history of this country with respect to Muslims. The first American Muslims, some of the first American Muslims arrived as slaves. There's never been an America without Muslims. Muslims have lived on American soil before the United States existed. The founding fathers of the United States welcomed the migration of Muslims. A Muslim nation was the first nation in the world to recognize the independence of this United States of America. African American Muslims, they played a key role in the success and the emergence of the civil rights movement in the 20th century. American Muslims have served honorably. They have died in the armed forces to protect the national security of the United States. American Muslims have contributed to the well-being, the vitality, and the cultural enrichment of this country. So today, we stand as proud Americans. As American Muslims support and stand for American values. We respect the United States Constitution. The majority of Muslims, against polls, confirm these. They prefer governance under the United States Constitution. American Muslims oppose and condemn radical beliefs and actions of all militant groups. And American Muslims are amongst the most diverse populations, the most educated in this country. So that brings us to where Niyama stands. When we gather here, folks, we need to keep in mind that we as Muslims, I'm still hearing, I'm going to be a little in your face, folks. We have come here for a reason. Give me a few minutes of your time. Those who are talking at the tables, I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to take a minute until it quietens down. Please forgive me. But this is too important, as I said. We cannot leave it to the politicians. We cannot leave it to those who are not paying full attention to what's going on here. This young lady deserves better. And I say that seriously. A 23-year-old dedicating her life at this stage of her young life to serving the community, serving us and serving this country. There is nothing more important tonight than listening to her, supporting her, and all of the other candidates around here. So bear with me. You can cast your ire upon me and I'll take the blame for it. But we want to be paying attention to this. Okay, let's keep in mind that all of us, Muslim Americans, including people of all other faiths, people of no faith, who have similar values, we stand firmly for American values such as separation of church and state.
That's right.
Equal rights for all. Freedom of speech. We are all against discrimination, against hate crimes, against racial profiling, against bigotry, against unfair and discriminatory immigration policies, targeting of minorities or ethnic or faith groups. All of that bring us together on one common platform, independent of our faith, our backgrounds, our ethnicities, or our cultures. And yes, for Muslims, there may be some concerns. Islamophobia may continue to rise. Muslims may be likely to be victimized by hate crimes than other minorities. We face discrimination in job opportunities and workplace experiences, but we're not the only ones facing that, folks. There are other minorities around us. Asian Americans, African Americans, Latinos, others who are facing this, and we need to make sure that we appreciate that we have to come together on a common platform. So, our focus should be on core American issues, on making a better American society, a better country for all faiths of races, ethnicities, minorities, and majorities included. And most importantly, under a world that is seeing so much strife and discrimination and hate and violence, we need to be a part of a better global model that America needs to be for the rest of the world. And it all happens with our engagement. So when we keep that in mind, there are actions to be taken. And that is what NIAMA stands for. We need to move up registrations to vote for sure. And we need to make sure that those who are most likely to be disconnected from local governments somehow get pulled in, because that is where everything happens. We must increase local civic engagement at the state level and then on to the congressional levels. Second point is that we need to make sure that houses of worship become spaces for mobilizing communities toward greater civic participation. And I can speak based on my personal experience with Islamic institutions and then based on my legal background. There is so much misunderstanding about what can or cannot be done through churches and mosques. In essence, places of worship can be political, but not partisan. Political, yes. Partisanship, no. As long as we keep that distinction in mind, there is so much that can be done together. Mosques can be a part of nonpartisan political action, disseminating voter information, hosting debates, take positions on issues of importance to the mosque, the church, and its congregation. Voter registration, discussions on key issues, all of that can and should be done. So speaking here as I've had the privilege of giving Friday sermons at the Islamic Foundation North for the members of the management, folks, do not shy away thinking that you cannot take part in the political process. You can, you should, you absolutely are obliged to do so. Just be careful on what is permitted and what isn't. And keeping in mind that disagreement within ourselves is important, and disagreement with those in power is also very important and legitimately patriotic. Mark Twain, he said something that applies, continues to apply: loyalty to country always. Loyalty to government only when it deserves it. It's a good thing to keep in mind. And ladies and gentlemen, as we speak about defending minority interests, because that is a key area of concern these days, let us keep in mind what Ayn Rand once said. She said that the smallest minority on earth is an individual. The smallest minority on earth is an individual, and those who deny individual rights cannot claim to be defenders of minorities. So let's keep that in mind as there is misinformation about demagoguery going on. Let's see if concern for minorities filters down to concern for individuals and their rights. And as we speak to the candidates here, and for Nabila and others out here, the people that we are selecting to represent us, it's a very important task. Let's not just get carried away and say we want our people out there. Make sure we pick the right people so that there is discernment in participation in the political process. Be smart. I know Napoleon Bonaparte once said that in politics, stupidity is not a handicap, but it is. So no disrespect intended here, but we need to have candidates who are smart. And then be moral. And that is what I was indicating to you, Maria, and others. If you have run a moral campaign, and look at what Nabila and the others have done, strictly based on integrity and morality, and those campaigns won, and even if they don't win now, they eventually win. So be moral. Politics have no relations to morals, is what Machiavelli once said. But we don't have to get Machiavellian. We need to make sure that morality is interjected back into politics. And then have integrity. Have integrity. So Nabila out there, Nabila, I'm speaking to you, lady. As you go out there, I've talked about two characteristics for you and the young man there who's trying to get into the Chicago Council too. Be moral, because what you have stood for is important. Have integrity. You know, Aesop's fables, but there's some wisdom to this. When he said, we hang the petty thieves and then we appoint the great ones to public office. We do not want that happening. What we want is you, Nabila, to go out there as a model of integrity, as a model of morality, as a model of ethics, and say this is possible. Because you are with a group of people who are so absolutely committed to doing the right and to being just. And we need to make sure that viable candidates are grown, and that is what Niyama does. So I'm segueing into what Mr. Iftikhar will come in and raise funds for. But ladies and gentlemen, as we want the word to filter out that political engagement is no longer an option. When Mr. Wasim put up that Leaning Tower of Pisa and said, if you have the inclination, they have the time, allow me to a little rude on his behalf. It does not matter whether you have an inclination to do this or not. It does not matter, folks. You better do it.
That's right.
This is your country, your society. If you want to raise any voice about what's going on that is wrong, you better step up, find the inclination, find the time, give the commitment. And so do that. And what I love about you, Maria, and your husband is you're doing it together. This has to happen as families, folks. We cannot do this on our own. Let's make sure that as Mr. Wasim Iftikhar and the fantastic team of Niyama comes out, that you not only give your commitment in terms of time, but that you open up your wallet, because you know politics runs on money. It is fueled by money. And if it is not fueled by nice and clean and money of integrity, it'll be the void will be filled by money of all other sorts with strings that come attached. So as I end, ladies and gentlemen, let us remember, bad politicians are elected by good people who do not vote. Register, vote, become involved with Niyama, support this wonderful organizations, and more power to all of you who have succeeded and to those who will succeed in the future. This is our country, folks. Let's step up to the table. Let's stand up for the truth and justice that we all espouse. Our faith stand for, the goodness in our heart, and then bring about the change that we desire together. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you for this great reminder. At this time, I would like, there are some candidates we have who are running for local elections to come forward. We have some candidates among the audience who are running for local elections, and they can come forward.
I'm Hussain. I am from this community for many years. I'm running for the local library board in Britain area. So please support me and please support all other local candidates at the municipal level that will run from our community.
Re-election for District 68, Oak Grove School. So,